We are really going to start the show this way. I am going to hold up Michael Myers and my lantern and just start the show. Today on the Bang On Says podcast, we're going to talk about abandoning the pursuit of perfection, the joys of being a basic B, a B-I-T-C-H, and maybe some other stuff, so go ahead and stick around. Alrighty, we are not going to be covering any news this week. I am just going to be going on a couple of rants because, frankly, that's a bit more fun for me. It's a little bit lighter, and I have had a couple of ideas and thoughts bouncing around in my noggin, and I have to get them out or I will scream. I will scream into the ether, and then the next time I'm in a Discord voice chat, I will yell at everybody in there about these topics, and they will be annoyed and just sign off. So I am choosing to scream into a camera and a microphone, record it, and turn it into a podcast. The first topic that I want to cover is abandoning the pursuit of perfection. The reason I want to talk about that is this is a trap that a lot of content creators fall into. And I understand why we adopt this mentality, and I understand why we fall into this trap. Because anything that we put out, any piece of content that we release, whether it be a video, a podcast, a tweet, anything, that could be somebody's first impression of us. And God forbid, it would be somebody's first and only impression of us. If somebody were to stumble across a video or a podcast you put out and you had second guesses about it, you thought the production was subpar, and they come across it and say, wow, this production is subpar, all of your insecurity about that episode was proved correct. So I understand why we fall into that trap, because we want to make sure that any impression people have of us is good. Anytime we have the opportunity to be in front of a new person, that's an opportunity to get somebody to watch, listen, or follow us. And as online content creators, that's the goal for a lot of people. So I understand why we adopt that mentality. The issue with it is perfection is unattainable. So if you are constantly waiting to publish until your production is perfect, you're never going to put anything out. If you're waiting to make sure that nothing has an issue, you're going to be constantly editing. It is unachievable. So instead of trying to reach this pinnacle of production, I think you ought to abandon that completely. I think a lot of content creators need to adopt the mentality of, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that's not offensive. It's legible. That's intelligible. It's good enough. It's kind of a joke, but I think that's a healthier way to approach things. That's good enough. But I think the more actionable way to avoid the pursuit of perfection is, instead of seeking perfection on everything that you do, just say, I want to be better than the last thing that I produced. I want this episode of the podcast to be better than last week's episode of the podcast. How am I going to accomplish that? This is something that I've ranted about for years. Find one thing you want to improve every single time you publish something and improve upon it. It may not do much from week to week or from publish to publish, but over years, the improvements will be massive. They will be drastic. If you want an example of that, go look at the first video on Podcastage and look at the most recent video on Podcastage. I'd like to think there's quite a big difference, quite a big improvement. The only reason I am where I am on the Podcastage channel and on this channel is because I adopted the mentality of, yeah, that's good enough. My early videos are garbage. My early podcasts are garbage. at least compared to where I am today. And that's exactly how it should be. That was 7 years ago. If I had not improved over 7 years to make those old videos look bad, I would be doing something wrong. I will never reach perfection. None of us will ever reach perfection. We will never have a perfect video, a perfect recording, a perfectly processed piece of audio. So we need to abandon that mentality and just say, yeah, that's good enough. The reason this popped into my head, I am sure all of you who listen to this show regularly know. Last week's episode. The audio quality on last week's episode was, to say the least, rough. It was pretty darn bad, bordering on unpleasant. No, I will say unpleasant to listen to. I won't say painful, but way below my standards. What happened? I am not making excuses. This is 100% user error. Idiot person making mistake and you having to live with it. I had set up a microphone. I had set up the processing, which is going to tape. Not literally. I don't record to tape. I am burning the processing into the recording. Set it up. Got it working. Right before I recorded, I said, I think it'll be fun to set it up like it's a talk show. Let's take it off this, put it on the desk, and then reset all the levels and do all this stuff. I didn't do any test recordings after that to verify my settings were still correct. And what did we get? An overcompressed nightmare. It may be one of the worst sounding podcasts I have ever put out. I don't think I've ever had anything that compressed. And it was compressed at the same time as having an expander or gate. So it had this very weird effect because when I talk, the compressor was so aggressive, it was bringing up the reflections and the room tone. But then when the expander came in and attenuated the signal about 10, 15, 20 dB, the room tone was gone. So it created this very weird effect. That's what got me thinking about this, and while I was editing, because I heard it, it's not as though I recorded it and published it, I made the conscious decision. That's good enough. That's good enough. It's intelligible. It's not painful. It's not piercing. I am not throwing my headphones across the room. It's good enough. Now, because I am an audio YouTuber, that may be embarrassing. That's fine. Everybody makes mistakes. And frankly, I didn't feel as though it was worthy of spending another 2 hours re-recording everything, saying the exact same things over and over again, because I liked how I presented all the information. I thought it was a pretty darn good show. I didn't want to risk having 2 hours turn into 4 hours turn into 8, because I liked how I did it. I know how good it could be. That take wasn't good. Let's do it again. We'll do it live. I didn't want to go down that road, so I made the executive solo podcaster decision. That's good enough. And that's what I am advocating for. The abandonment of the pursuit of perfection for your productions. That's a lot of P's. And adopting, I'll be better than last week. I'll be better than the last thing that I put out. And for me, that's going to be real easy because last week's audio is what needs to be improved, and it doesn't take much to improve upon it. Much healthier way to approach your productions, but more importantly, it gives you actual actionable items to improve. The pursuit of perfection is somewhat of an ambiguous, nebulous thought. What is perfection even? I don't know. but I know what to improve from last week. I can do something about that. So that is the first rant that I wanted to go on. Hopefully that can help you produce content and put it out there and improve over iterations, over years, and at the end of those years, you will be impressed how far you have come. Those are all the cards that I have written down because I ran out of time. It is very late. Look in my hallway. It is actually night outside now. The next topic that I want to rant on is being a basic B. A B-I-T-C-H. The joys of it. I am a basic B. Through and through. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be a positive thing. Excuse me while I click on my extremely loud keyboard to zoom in on my notes so I can actually read them because I'm really far away. I put my sound panel back on my desk and it's about 12 inches, maybe not 12, maybe 8 inches off. So I'm really far back from my computer monitor. I need to zoom in. Through and through, I am a basic B and that is okay. The reason I am okay with this, I stopped caring what other people think. And you may be thinking, but basic Bs, that entire mentality, that entire label means you just do what everybody else does. Let me explain. Growing up, I was really into punk rock. I wanted to be different than everybody. I wanted to dress a way that set me apart from other people. I wanted to listen to obscure music. I am sure it wasn't just for me. In high school, you got cool points for finding bands that nobody else heard. That was the only value to the band. That was the only thing about the band that made them good. The music didn't actually have to be good. Nobody else could have heard of them. And that's how you got cool points, by finding something nobody else knew about. Wearing shirts for bands nobody else knew about. Wearing pants that nobody else had. Having the coolest new Vans that nobody else had. But what is, besides the AC turning on, which I am not going to turn off, besides wearing things and listening to things that nobody else listens to, what is that all predicated on? Understanding what other people wear, understanding what other people listen to, and trying to be contrarian, trying to do the opposite. And if the entire purpose is to be your own individual, that doesn't seem to fit. That seems counterintuitive. That seems contradictory. Because what are you doing? You are allowing other people's actions to dictate what you wear, what you enjoy. That was a realization. That wasn't just a realization. That was a revelation for me. When I realized, wait a second, by being different, by intentionally trying to be different, I am letting other people dictate to me what I can wear, what I can do, what I can enjoy. How pathetic is that? It's just like requiring somebody to give you the okay to wear a pair of jeans or a pair of shoes or to listen to a band. Who cares if somebody says, oh, I think your shoes are stupid. Oh, I think that band's the worst. So what? I enjoy them. So over these years, I have unintentionally become a basic B. I made a list of all of the things that I think would fall into the category of getting somebody labeled a basic B-I-T-C-H. I wear plain Levi's jeans. I wear plain t-shirts. American Giant, made in America. That's really the only caveat I have. I don't care what brand as long as they fit well. Plain sweatshirts, gray, green, black, give me them. I love them. Really nice corduroy baseball caps. That might be a little bit different, but I just like it. corduroy pants. Who doesn't love them? But it's on your head. It's like pants for your head. How cool is that? I wear Vans shoes. That is extremely basic. I wear checkered Vans shoes, even more basic. I think the SM7B is one of the best microphones ever. I use the Sennheiser HD650s. Both of those are some of the most popular items in those arenas. The SM7B, one of the most popular microphones. The HD650s, one of the most popular headphones. I wear watches that get trashed because they're so popular. Oh, so many people have them. They suck. I don't care. I don't care. I get this stuff because I enjoy it. If it just so happens to make it seem as though I am following a trend, to make it seem as though I am hip to be square, so be it. So what? Maybe there's some, I don't want to say knowledge, but maybe there's something to a lot of people adopting certain trends. Maybe trends aren't solely just fashion-based or status-based. Maybe some trends are based on the quality of the items that are being adopted. Whether it be, this might be the most basic B thing I have, a hydro flask. I didn't know this. Visco girls? Is that what it is? This is something that Visco girls use. I don't even know what a Visco girl is, but I think they were labeled basic Bs. Maybe there's quality to the stuff that becomes exceedingly popular. Levi's jeans, made in America heritage clothing, Tudor watches, Rolex watches. Yes, there may be some status associated with it. There are going to be people who adopt these things based on status. But so what? If you let that bother you, I understand I'm not telling you not to behave a certain way. If you let that bother you, aren't you just allowing other people to dictate what you feel and think? Now it's a whole other story if you're thinking, well, wearing this is going to broadcast, hey, I am wearing something extremely expensive, come rob me. That's a different thing. I understand wanting to assess how you're dressing, assess how you will be perceived to limit attention. I like not standing out now. I like just being a bit of the gray man. This may just be... I was watching a lot of everyday carry videos back in 2015, 2016, and they were run by a bunch of military people. Black Scout Survival, that was one of them, and he always talked about the gray man, and maybe it just wormed its way into my brain, and this is just where I ended up. Ultimate gray man. I just buy stuff that everybody else buys to just fit in. Don't stand out from the crowd, just be another one of the herd to anybody seeking out a victim. No, that's just another random person walking down. Nothing stands out about them. They are not a victim to me. But all of that to get to this point. I understand it may be a bunch of trendy stuff. It may be stuff that's popular. But none of these items have any bearing on who I am as a person. Who I am as a person is based on my belief system, my actions, what I do, what I choose to do, what I will do in the future, how I spend my free time. That dictates who I am, not the clothes I wear. It reminds me of it's a British rap group. It's not the Viagra Boys. Oh, golly. The Sleaford Mods. Why do you care about the clothes I wear? It has no bearing on who I am. It is all just material nonsense. So if I am a basic B because I wear stuff that a lot of other people wear, because I use water bottles that a lot of other people wear, because I like microphones that a lot of other people like, that I wear headphones that a lot of other people use, that I use Apple like a lot of other people, if that makes me a basic B, so what? Doesn't say a single thing about me as a person. Now, to apply this to somebody else, which is not something I do often because I don't like talking about other content creators, really, it seems a bit inappropriate. I follow a YouTuber, and they describe themselves as boring. The reason they describe themselves as boring is they know what their tastes are, and they don't diverge from that. They wear jeans, tan boots, white t-shirts and gray jumpers, and they like plain watches that aren't flashy. They don't have a lot of complications. They are somewhat bland, some might say. Plain black dials. But they call themselves boring because of this. Now, I don't know what the actual thought process is. I don't know if they are intending to say, I think other people would find my taste boring. They would not enjoy the things that I like because it doesn't seem to follow the trends. I don't know if that's what they're saying when they say, oh, I'm boring, or if they are actually saying, I am boring. Because if they are saying, I am boring, that is the biggest load of BS I have ever heard. The things that you choose to consume in terms of clothing, in terms of consumerism, has zero bearing on who you are as an individual. You could go climb Mount Everest in a boring t-shirt, and I don't think you could. I don't think they let you. I'm making a point. You could climb Mount Everest wearing a plain white t-shirt, jeans, and tan boots. And people might say, oh, that's boring clothing, nothing interesting about that. Nobody could ever say you are an uninteresting person if you climbed Mount Everest. What led you to that point in your life? What was the thought process? When was the first moment you thought, I want to do this? What was the process leading up to that? What was the most difficult part climbing Mount Everest? What did you feel like when you were up there? What did your view of the world? There's so much you could learn from that. And your clothing may not be flashy, may not differentiate you from somebody else, but you're sure as heck not a boring person. You may just be a basic bitch. And that's okay. I had to include one. Being a basic B is fine because it seems as though that is just purely somewhat of a materialistic label. You wear stuff similar to other people. You like music that other people like. Oh, you like Muse? You're a basic... Because Muse makes good music. Oh, you like Mozart? Yes, I do. Well, so do other people. You're just basic. Sure. Yes, I am. You listen to Blink-182? Yeah, they write catchy melodies and they're kind of funny. And I have a lot of nostalgia for them. You're basic. Okay. So all of that to just come around and say, I'm a basic B, and that's fine. I may wear stuff that a lot of other people wear. I may consume stuff that a lot of other people consume. I may love bands that are on the top 40. So what? Who cares? If I allow other people's opinions about the clothes that I'm wearing or other people's thoughts on trends to impact what I'm doing, thinking, oh, I need to be different from them, what am I doing? I'm still allowing them to impact how I behave. So if you are trying to be an individual, don't try to be different. Just try to find what you enjoy. Try to find what you're comfortable in. Try to find what brings you joy. And embrace it. Who cares if other people like it? If they do, cool. You have a new community of people to engage with. That's amazing. Being basic is awesome. And I'd be remiss if I didn't. How does the quote go? It's not just about the band, it's about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends. There's your American Psycho quote, Art Vandelay, a Vandelay industry importer or exporter. Because watch another movie. It's a fantastic movie, but watch another one, or at least quote another one. Quote Casablanca. There's one. Quote Casablanca. Or quote Rocketman. Wasn't me! That is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen. Not the Elton John one. That one was kind of depressing. And Rocketman with Harland Williams may not still be one of the funniest movies ever. I'll tell you what. When I saw it, I was still a child, and I thought it was one of the funniest things ever. And Harland Williams' scream, astronaut Fred Randall, his scream when that occurs, may be the greatest scream ever caught on cinema, on film, on celluloid. Look out, Jamie Lee Curtis. Look out, Liv Tyler. Your scream's got nothing on Harland Williams. I don't even know how I got there. What am I talking about? Find what you enjoy and embrace it. That's the moral of the story. That is it for this week's episode. I have nothing else. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. What have I been testing? I am using the Shure SM81. Wait, you have been listening to it. I'm way off my game today, but we're doing it live. I had a few edits. Shure SM81. $400 small diaphragm condenser. I do not have the high pass filter or anything engaged. I don't know how far away I am actually. I do have a measuring tape as I slap the microphone with it. I am 1 foot away from the microphone, overhead miking myself. And I am not burning the processing into the recording this time. I am running that through the Universal Audio X8. Pretty good sounding to my ears, but that's what I said last week, and we know how that went. I did have a movie of the week. I'll save it for next week, because I forgot to get the DVD case, and I don't want to hold up nothing air. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Bang On Says podcast. That is slang, British slang for just absolutely correct, if I remember the definition. Bang on. Or the Bandrew Says podcast is what it's actually called. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. You are the greatest. Have an amazing week. Go be the basic bee that you are if you are a basic bee. Abandon the pursuit for perfection and enjoy your life. Find the things that bring you joy and embrace them. Who cares what other people think as long as you're not hurting anybody? I'll talk to you next week. I love you so much. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Whoa, 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 whoop, boop. That's really far away from me. I had to stand up and reach over. That was difficult.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.